Hello, ladies and gentlemen. Thank you so much for joining another Demo Lab series. Today, we have a fantastic show with a fantastic guest. We have Richard Park, the founder of Legal Target, director at Symposium for Economic Crime, as well as a really exciting contact with tons of experience in the legal market. I've set this up because a lot of people have been asking us, how do we map out the legal market? How do we find solicitors? How do we get an understandable of our total addressable market size? And I thought Legal Target's job at doing that is pretty good. And why not bring Richard so he can talk to us about that and more? Richard, I'll pass it to you. Love to know about you, your experience, and how you got started.
Yeah, thanks, Arslan. Yeah, I'm Richard. I'm founder of Legal Target. I've had over 25 years of experience in the legal sector. I started out at Chambers and Partners. At the time, I was sort of early 20s at Chambers, and they gave me everything outside of London to run for them. So I got to know the market through sort of cities like Leeds, Birmingham, Bristol, and got to know all the big firms in those areas. I broke away at 24 and set up Charles Park, a legal headhunting firm. Started recruiting for sort of major firms across the UK, London firms, very much sort of executive searched. I found a niche for private wealth and moved into the family office sector as well. So I had a practice split between advising family offices and law firms. I started advising law firms, merging and acquiring other law firms and boutiques. And on a project I was working, I decided to build Legal Target to automate some M&A activity. But to get the data I wanted in the M&A space, I needed the entire law society and legal market data. So it sort of evolved into a Legal Target. I worked on Legal Target, had Charles Park. COVID came along, and I went and joined one of my clients, Mishcon de Rare, and I sat as a chief executive within the family office business of Mishcons, which was great. I was there for 3 years, met some brilliant people, with Gary Miller being one of them, of the International Fraud Group, and I sit as an advisor at the IFG as well, through the work I do at the Economic Crime Symposium in Cambridge. So I have my current practice is very much sort of advising law firms, advising family offices, and key people needs building teams, advising on M&A.
Fascinating. So you, you
Yeah.
started with kind of looking at M&A, realizing the job of trying to, project manage and research was too large and you needed a solution to help you there. So that's essentially when you built Legal Target and to essentially help yourself become better at what you do. So how long has Legal Target been going? Talk to us about it. What kind of people use it and what kind of purpose do they use it for currently?
Yeah, so I built Legal Target to automate the research and mapping of the legal market. On the headhunting side, when I worked with various firms, I'd quote up to 4 weeks of research to completely sort of map out a market. In reality, that took sort of a few days intense research to go to the Law Society, the director, and bring that data in. And I wanted to automate that process. So I built Legal Target very much to sort of automate that process, and to take that from a few days' work to see just a few minutes, which is great. And yeah, so that purpose.
Yeah. So I was just going to ask, in terms of the kind of people that use it. So originally, did you build it for M&A? Did you build it for recruiters?
Yeah,
Or
sorry, yeah. So I built it mainly for recruiters, headhunters like myself to map out, do market mapping. I built it also for law firms that are increasingly building out their in-house recruitment teams, and getting to assist with that, and also boards of law firms to do M&A due diligence, sort of early stage market mapping on the M&A side. So for law firms, legal recruiters, and really anyone selling into the legal market. So legal tech, reg tech, mapping.
Yeah, I remember I used to work in recruitment back in 2017 era, and the way you found new firms to work with was you had to go on either Google and type in law firms in Bristol, and literally firm by firm put the name in a Excel sheet and start looking and finding who the contacts are there. Or the alternative was the UX UI of the Find a Solicitor for Law Society, which was like literally as 2004 as it gets when it came to UX UI. And that was again a super manual workaround on trying to map out firms and find points of business development and recruitment. So when I saw Legal Target, I thought, oh my God, like this just completely takes care of business development on the initial stage. Um, Presumably that's the kind of reaction you've had. That's kind of what most use cases have seen as well, right?
Yeah, absolutely. When I started, the Law Society wasn't even online. We had the Law Society directory. I've got one from 2002, and when I was sort of working in the Norwich market, I'd have to look up and see just by sign Norwich market and go after the sort of the larger firms in that area. And what I wanted to do with Legal Target was really take all that knowledge of each town, each city, and give that mapping and overview. I wanted to really visualize the legal market. The Law Society's there online, but it's clunky, it's hard to navigate, it doesn't really quite work. And so we wanted to take all that data and visualize it.
Yeah.
I'll show you in a minute on the demo, but every firm, how I sort of know the firm and map out the firm, I've taken that and presented it in Legal Target.
Great. And I think just as a kind of just to put this out there, I think when you're kind of looking at go-to-market strategy, the initial point, if you're looking at legal at all, you have to know what's the size of the market, right? You need a tool that maps out the market entirely, and then it allows you to segment the market by employee counts, practice types. This is the bit that most people struggle with. Um, let's say we do know the market size, but we don't know how to segment it. We don't know how to browse through the data that we have to
Yeah.
put away the corporates, to put away the negligence firms, full regional firms. That kind of segmentation has been the bane of many people's lives. And I presume Legal Target has had that in mind when building and trying to let people browse through the data it has.
Yeah, I mean, sometimes I sort of take for granted the knowledge I have from doing it for 25 years. But um, what I wanted to do, if for a graduate sort of landing in legal tech or a legal recruiter, I wanted them to sort of come in and look at a city and instantly be able to sort of break up that city from private practice versus in-house, and also seeing the headquartered firms in that city, and then seeing the much larger firms that have sub offices in that city as well. So you
I
can,
guess this is a perfect segue if you want to show us what a firm looks like on Legal Target, or
yeah, shall I jump in and sort of just
please do.
take you through? Okay.
And by the way, everybody, please leave comments and questions. We will answer them at the end of the call. But yeah, this is your opportunity to ask Richard anything you want.
Yeah. So can you see the screen? Okay, Arslan.
Uh, we Yep, now we
Yeah.
can see it.
Excellent. So if I just legal target, you can only search for auction or solicitors. That's the two avenues you can go down. So in this case, if I just show you how we show a firm, um, I sort of the version 2 of Legal Target is very much built around how Auto Trader works. I've always liked Auto Trader, so we sort of built it like a legal Auto Trader.
This looks really interesting. Before you type anything, can you talk us what we're looking at, the company type? Just what are we looking at on this page?
Yeah, so on this page here, you can see there's 19,000 results of entities on an organization. So if we break the market down, we can divide that, put that straight into sort of law firms only into private practice. So we're now looking at 11,614 um,
And for
just
those who don't
entities.
know, in-house and private practice are referring to.
So private practice being law firms, in-house being sort of the legal teams of companies and businesses. So when you look at in-house here, by the largest going down, Barclays have the largest in-house legal team of qualified solicitors, and you can see by size here. So the FCA with 278,
Wow. So if I'm
etc.
a
So
Robin AI, or if I'm one of these contract automation tools I sell to in-house teams, this is kind of how I would find in-house legal teams, right?
yeah, and in a while I'll show you how we. Obviously, I'll show you a law firm first, but I'll show you how we show the in-house team of Sainsbury's or AstraZeneca, etc. So we do it in the same way. So, like I said earlier on, I've really tried to take how I want to see a law firm when I'm either pitching it to a candidate or I'm working with them. So if I take Burkitt's as a firm, you just the instance of the overview of Burkitt's here, you can see ranked 58 in the top 200, 534 solicitors, and just some overall data. This is the homepage of Burkitt's, and just given an overview of each section. So the solicitors, just an overview, areas of practice overview, the languages spoken. And what we've done here is this is around my sort of M&A due diligence, really, is that common theme of questions around firms and their makeup through due diligence. I've sort of captured that. We assess every single solicitor on the Law Society, and we weight them accordingly so that we can look at every single firm in its own merit. So what we call the core pillars: litigation, breakdown, private client, corporate, commercial, and property. The breakdown between litigation and non-contentious, so contentious, non-contentious breakdown, business legal services versus private legal services, solicitor partner split, the gender split, and the age demographic. So we do that
Wow.
in every single firm.
That's amazing, by the way, the data points here, just for context. I mean, I've been using these data points to at First AML, we all use this. So before we attacked or talk to a law firm in terms of business development, we need to understand what's their kind of business to private client ratio, because from a compliance point of view, the more B2B law firm is onboarding, the more likely they have UBO problems, KYB problems, challenges with risk assessment,
Yeah,
source of funds. If they're doing more private client, the more problems they'll have with maybe conveyancing, wills, maybe electronic verification of identities, and faster volume. So you need to know what the firm's onboarding to know their problems and industry.
yeah, but you have to. The data we're taking is from the Law Society and the SRA. So the data's, and for us to assess it in mass, for example, it's as accurate as it can be, but we've had to sort of take employment, for example, as being weighted 50-50, contentious, non-contentious. Employment is also weighted 50-50 between private client and corporate and business legal services. So there are some practice areas where it's very residential property, it's non-contentious property and private client legal services. That's quite an easy one, but there's some specialisms which spike the data results. But when you're looking them en masse, the data's
Yeah.
it's pretty good. Yeah.
Just on the languages as well, I know, like for instance, again, a lot of rec techs and legal techs kind of pride themselves on their multi-jurisdictional capabilities, coverage, as well as the languages they come with.
Yeah.
Some of the rec techs I know have languages in Arabic, Chinese. So firms that have Arabic and Chinese speaking solicitors can give you an idea that they might onboard those kind of clients, and those clients might use documents in those languages. So if you
That's cool.
see languages here that you can cater to, then that's a good sign for you from business development.
Yeah. And also actually just looking up for language speakers within firms, you can do a search to say Mishcon de Rare and everyone sort of speaking out. So
Yeah,
it's quite good to do a quick assessment of who speaks what within a firm as well. Um, Offices wise, this is where this is sort of harder to build than it looks, but I really wanted to capture how a firm sits within the UK or around the world, and just to give a visual overview of where they are around the country and any sort of cluster of offices here. This will be in their London office, and you can go in and get an assessment on the individual Kents. So here we're now looking at the office assessment of Kent rather than the firm as a whole. So that's good. Areas of practice, straightforward. You can just see people coded to practice areas and sub-practice areas. Solicitors wise, the version 2 we put a search function within the solicitors part of a firm or organization. So, for example, we can go here, look at construction, and we can do sort of 4 to 10 and we can sort by seniority, but when they're larger numbers it works. But you take Katie here, you can see here different various specialist areas, as also languages spoken, and we can go onto her website here as well, and it take you straight through to the website of Burkitt's and her profile.
Got you. Now we can't see the website link, but that is very
Okay,
cool. So for every solicitor, you have a file or a page, a kind of a dashboard for them as well, individuals. So every individual on Legal Target has a profile view.
Yeah, and actually where we've enhanced the data point, the link between Legal Targets, we've had to go out and take data from the wider legal market as well. So we try and enhance as much of the top 200 firms as possible to get that link. Let's go back to Legal Target, 2 seconds.
No problem. And in terms of the individuals, so you have Katie, I'm presuming, again, you can map out both individuals and firms on Legal Target, right? So
yeah, absolutely.
Everything is for you to be extracted, taken to, do further work with.
Yeah, we've got financials here on the firms as well, but we've got about 20 years of data up to 22. It's not ideal. We will update the financial data, but we've got 20 years. But you can see the growth trajectory of Burkitt's and any useful information. As a
Just on
headhunter, I
this,
wanted.
why did you include financials? I mean, I've got a lot of use case out of this, but was this for the M&A due diligence? Was this for you as a recruiter or a business developer to understand the makeup of what's the purpose of this
Yeah,
kind of information?
look, to have to have the financial data of the top 200 and the top 50 US firms is useful as a recruiter, headhunter, as a firm diligence on M&A, and anyone sort of targeting the firm is obviously useful to have financial data. We were quite keen to get the equity earning data of each firm as well. This is sort of out of date, but you can see here we've got the estates by these numbers, but it's a starting point to give you a bit of an idea of the equity range of earnings there of 300,000 up
And
to.
does this kind of chart, even though it is from 2000, it's 2 years, 3 years old, does this indicate growth or
I think we will be updating the financial data, but it definitely shows sort of where the firm is at, its growth trajectory, and and where
so like the Burkitt's
it's come
graph
from.
is indicating, obviously a few years ago, some sort of a growth, and growth like that doesn't seem to suddenly stop, right? So
No,
one
I think
presumes
Burkitt's are going on for nearly 130 million turnover this year, so they've carried on that fantastic growth path, which is good.
great, amazing. So you showed us, so far, just to recap, you showed us kind of the searching capabilities for organizations. You showed us what you cover on each firm and what you have on each entity and individual. What I'd love to know is a couple of use cases. So we actually had a couple of use cases sent to us by attendees, people who wanted to see what they could do with Legal Target. We have three. One was to find Kolbs and Kofas in Manchester, 25 miles, private practice. One was for recruitment, find IP partners in Oxford. And another was to map out kind of regions of Manchester, 15 miles for organizations, private practice.
Brilliant. So shall I start with the Oxford mapping?
Yes, please.
Yeah.
So here, guys, the task is we're looking for IP partners, I believe, Richard, in Oxford. Was it the partners
So
or?
what you do here, you'd go into search, you'd look at solicitors. 2 seconds.
You love that.
Yeah, absolutely. So sorry, 2 seconds. There's me.
This happens all the time, by the way. Do you want to log out and log in?
No, it's fine. It's fine. It's fine. So yeah, typical. So we're looking at solicitors here,
Yep.
160,000 solicitors, and let's put in Oxford, 15-mile radius. And
So that immediately tells you there's 900 solicitors in Oxford.
yeah,
Which
if
again,
we say
if you
sort of,
guys wanted to create infographics, you just do city by city, map out how many solicitors there are, and you can create a beautiful map saying Birmingham has this amount of solicitors, etc.
I'm sort of clicking in specialisms here and going down to intellectual property. And what you can do here as well, you can look at law firms only
Wow.
and map out that. So you can see 23 people, 8 to 25 years PQE in private practice only, or you can flip that out and just look at in-house as well. So if you're just looking at the in-house market,
And I can only look
you can
at
get
top
the
200 as well. Say I have a top 200 client, they want another
yeah,
top 200 lawyer.
yeah. But if I show you here, sort of 58 results. When you're looking at 58 results on this page, you would just put it into show 100 per page, so you can just keep it all in one page. Select all, add to project, create a new project, put IP demo, add them to the project, and that project will now sit in our dashboard, and we can export these people into a CSV,
Wow.
into Excel.
So like within a minute, you pretty much mapped out Oxford IP lawyers within the PQE range you wanted.
Yeah. So are you seeing the Excel now?
Yep, now we are.
Yeah.
Wow, so you get name, you get firm, you get title, admitted date, PQE,
Yeah.
areas of
And you can just
practice.
open it up there. So, I mean, that would have taken us in the sort of olden days of not having this, and even with all the sort of online, that would have taken us a few days of putting that together for a client, and we've done that.
Easily.
Yeah,
Easily. And it would have been manual search as well. So you would have had to either look on LinkedIn or you would have had to find a solicitor through the Law Society. So that
yeah,
was an IP kind of a search that we did. Um, Another one was a lot of our rec text, legal text, like to sell to Colps,
yeah,
COFAs, MLROs. Colps and COFAs usually end up being MLROs. For those who don't know, Colp and COFAs are titles given by kind of law society titles. And Colps are compliance officers for legal practice, and COFAs are compliance officers for financial administration.
yeah.
So slightly different. COFAs deal with business support, whereas Colps deal with legal matters and client work and how the case is being done. Am I right there, Richard? Is that kind of an accurate description?
Look, I think, yeah, absolutely. I haven't. So you've lived the RegTech world more than me, Arslan. To be fair, but if I just show you, for example, going into Clifford Chance, and you can look at title and go straight into compliance officer for legal practice, and go into this chap here. You can see his profile here, but we can take a link through. And if I go back and show you and it takes you straight through to his practice there. But you can, and we can do that for other firms as well. It's
So again, you just mapped out the Colp of Clifford Chance in a second.
and we could do the same for, let's do it for Burkitt's. And again, you've got the same link there. I can take you through to his there. These are where we've got enhancements to the links for taken them from Legal Target to a law firm's website. But you've got that there straight away as well. So you can see here he's the firm's compliance officer for legal practice. Sorry, my multitasking skills of presenting and
It's
going through
pretty
the
good.
platform, Arslan.
It's pretty good. Look, the results that you're showing consistently is just a proof. Like if you wanted to find a cult quickly, MLR quickly, which is what
Yeah,
SDR, sales development, marketing reps have to do, right?
yeah. I mean,
So many industries want to target legal,
if
and
I just
the
sort of take
mapping
you
up.
through, London, 15 months compliance officers. You've got 940 in London, 15-mile radius. And again, I won't go through the full 900, but
Yeah.
I can just select the first 100, put them into a project. Demo 2, add to project, go to page 2.
So you basically could add all 900
Yeah.
to one
Yeah.
project. Now, a lot of people are looking at this and wondering, is there a limit to a project? How does the mechanism work, I guess?
We've set the limit very high, so you could do the entire 900 and some. So that you won't find yourself hitting any sort of limit on that, really.
Amazing. Just for the sake of demo, I think let's stop.
Yeah.
All 900.
I know. I was just going to do the 300. Let me do this. Results there.
But you just basically added 300 culps in London into a project in a minute.
And I'm just putting it into Excel now. So if you times that by 3, you could have that done in under a minute.
Amazing.
And let me just show you.
By the way, guys, just a reminder: leave questions in the chat section. We do have a couple of questions actually, Richard. So
okay, cool.
We can cover them along the way.
They're all the 300.
Cool. Let me just share the results with the people as well. This is the Excel sheet you're showing us, right?
Yeah.
When this has US firms, this has London firms. This is a London search, obviously. So great, amazing. So if I wanted to, Richard, hypothetically map out all US firms, the top 50 US firms, I could do that through Legal Target through 3 clicks, right? Organization, top 50 US, and there's just export.
Yeah, and you got top 200, top 50.
That actually might be can you show us, because those are really quick, easy searches people could do, and they could map out top 200 really easily, top 50 US really easily.
Yeah, absolutely.
And at First AML, I keep referring back to my time there because I remember with the sales team, we had the top 200 printed out, and we would go on the wall every day and look at it and strategize and talk together about pinpoint certain firms. Like, how do we get in front of this firm? So just having the ability to print this off is amazing. Sorry.
Yeah, you've got obviously the data here, so you can go into the top 50. I need to speak to the tech team to why there's 40 of the top 50. Maybe there's some sort of combined entities that have gone on. But you've got sort of immediately the top 50. These are the top 50 that have UK qualified solicitors at them. So we're not looking at the US lawyers at Latham's. We're looking at the London office of Latham's and the UK solicitor.
Amazing. So again, just like everything else,
and
they
likewise
could
for the top 200.
They could select all, export it, print it out, have it on the table, and use it for kind of business development and market mapping. Now, you do have M&A due diligence as well, Richard. A lot of law firms have been using it. I remember a few key firms were actually using it for mapping and finding what firms to acquire. Would you mind talking us a little bit about that? What is that particular product line about, and what's the usage there?
Yeah, so the users for the M&A tool are boards of law firms that are targeting firms to merge or acquire. for advisors in the M&A space like myself and others. And it's basically taken how we showed you Burkitt's earlier on. I can show you on our dashboard here. If we create an M&A project and create a new project, we can take Burkitt's and Mitchell Moores and save. And if I was advising Burkitt's, or if I was Burkitt's, I'd put my base firm in as a base firm.
So base firm is for the acquiring firm, the firm that's
Yeah,
doing
so
the research.
the base firm is it's going to be where the base data sits, and then take Mitchell Moores as the target firm.
Mitchell Moore's in Exeter and Burkitt's up in Midlands.
Yeah, headquartered next to target organisation.
You giving them any merger ideas?
Yeah, well, these are all like-minded and sort of good firms. So and old clients, which is good.
So what you're doing
moment,
now, used to take you weeks. You said 4
well,
weeks.
I
for this easily.
I advised a top 30 firm on quite a large merger, which made me sort of want to create Legal Target, and it took me several weeks to put an M&A report together with 3 firm targets. One of them they went on to merge with, but when I was sort of putting the data together, I thought that I should automate this, and this is what I've done. So at the moment now, we're looking at the base data of Burkitt's. The enhancement, anything in green, is obviously the Mitchell Moores data plugged in. And you can see additional languages through the merger. You can see now the assessment. So we can go sort of base data of Burkitt's, the target data of Mitchell Moores.
So you can see before
and the merged. And the biggest bit for us was when we were working for a big firm coming into the south of the UK. This bit interests me just from if I were the 2 boards and looking for market coverage, having that sort of very visually showing, obviously blues base, greens are additional, and you can just you can click in and see the 2 Bristol offices there, probably the Cheltenham for Mitchell Moores, and you can go. And this is really useful, I think, for if I was the board of Burkitt's talking to my own partners, if I was the board of Burkitt's talking to the board of Mitchell Moores, it's a talking point.
It's a tool of strategy as well, isn't it?
Yeah.
You're founding managing partner. You're trying to strategize where to go location-wise, where your competitors are, and where you could acquire more departments. This departmental overview is amazing.
Yeah, so here, very visually sort of showing you where the additional are coded for the different practice areas.
Now, if I'm a partner in agriculture, will I know how it impacts my particular department? So I can see 11 people.
Yeah, you can go into agriculture, and I would sort it by seniority. So you can sort by PQE, and then you've got a view of, obviously blue being base solicitors, green being additional. And actually, if you have if you want to look at sort of up to 10 years PQE in agriculture and see how that affects you can look at that cluster of up to 10 years PQE in.
And I believe you can get a language if you go to areas of practice and you go into agriculture now. You can get an overlay of the new additional languages that you just adopted, right? You can get an understanding of gender balance and all that good stuff here as well.
Oh, you can. Yes, yeah. I didn't realize you can go through that. Yeah, I think
I use this tool a lot.
Yeah, exactly. That's good. Yeah, and I think I hadn't realized on the merger bit, obviously in the individual firms. But yeah, you can now see the.
That's pretty amazing. That's
amazing there.
That's pretty good if you're a partner reviewing. If you're head of real estate, head of agriculture, and you're trying to make your team more balanced, or
absolutely, yeah. And then the combined financial. I mean, this is old data, so I would, but it still gives you an overview of the increases there.
Wow.
This was the whole reason I built Legal Target. But actually, to get this data, I needed the entire data,
Yeah.
um, and actually, we probably make more money from our recruiters using it for standard recruitment search.
So, if you don't mind me asking a few questions around it, so how long have you been kind of working with Legal Target? How long has it been out there? Um,
Yeah,
where are
so
we at in the timeline?
we've started Legal Target in sort of late teens, just before COVID, 2020. Took it to market, and the version one we weren't completely satisfied with. We took some market feedback and built a version two, very much with your input as well, Arslan, which was great, and Dom, and we designed a version two, which we have been working on for the past couple of years. I got quite busy in my family office stuff over at Mishcons, and this has been really a bit of a sort of a side business for
Yeah.
me. But in the last, I want to focus on it. I want to sort of take Legal Target from um, a nice to have to a must have. So we're going to look at some quite interesting data points to enhance it.
Yeah, and in terms of just like usage and who's using it, we kind of noticed recently that usage is so wide in legal tech, in rec tech. There's so many companies that have been using it, national recruitment
Yeah,
agencies, top 100 law firms. I was quite shocked at the variety of companies that are interested in legal data and are using it on a daily. But I guess if you had to kind of summarize who would benefit from this, just precisely who do you think could directly benefit from Legal Target today?
so legal recruiters completely. Yeah, just it's an instant market mapping, solicitor mapping. I use it in my sort of day job advising firms, and I make money from it. So legal recruiters, headhunters, legal recruiters that advise in the M&A space, HR and in-house recruitment teams of law
Yep.
firms, business development marketing teams of law firms. You know,
Yeah,
you can go
we
into
had top 50 law firm. I don't want to say their name, but their BD team, their knowledge management team, and their recruitment team was using it simultaneously. So there were
yeah,
three different departments within one law firm all
yeah.
using this. I and for business development for law firms, what do they use it for? I mean, so I know it. I just want
So,
to.
so for example, as we've been showing sort of more law firms, but if I show you AstraZeneca here, how we presented Burkitt's and others, we present AstraZeneca in the same way. So this is showing the solicitors within AstraZeneca, um, the languages spoken, the assessment of AstraZeneca, but probably most importantly is going into the solicitor section for BD.
Hmm.
You can you can immediately sort the legal team by seniority and go to the most sort of senior people going downwards. So if you're wanting to sort of engage with AstraZeneca, that's a sort of a good place to start. Department wise, this shows now all the specialists with specialist areas within AstraZeneca, and it only shows what they do specialize in, and obviously there's where legal specialist areas aren't showing, there's opportunity there to add strength. But you can go into employment, for example. So if you're pitching outsourcing of employment to AstraZeneca, I would, you know, I would start with this person here. Um, you can see here actually they're sort of Lewis Silkin employer, and you wonder whether they're on secondment from
Yeah.
Lewis Silkin into AstraZeneca. But take Sebastian here; he's directly at AstraZeneca, and you can see corporate commercial employment. This individual assessment
So
there.
law firms would use this to find Sebastian for particularly business development,
Yeah,
AstraZeneca's of the world. So if
yeah,
I'm a law firm in Cambridge, what I love to do is kind of figure out who's within Cambridge who's within my vicinity that I could look
yeah.
at,
I
who's
mean,
in Bristol.
for example, it's more probably mapping out. When Mishkon's moved to Cambridge with Taylor Vinters, Cambridge as a market, 15-mile radius, organisation wise, and just break it out to in-house only, and you're
Yeah.
immediately seeing by size of department, you've got instant access to
And there's some pretty impressive, like I didn't know ARM and AstraZeneca were in Cambridge until you showed me it on these. And
yeah, I mean, ARM's pretty mega, but yeah, to have access to this at your finger, it's more, I wouldn't sort of solely rely on legal target for market mapping, but it's that instant,
yeah,
it's that instant um,
again,
tool.
I love that you can get universities out of this. Just a couple of tricks that I've learned through using Legal Target. Shout out to Jagex RuneScape there. Not sure if you know that one, Richard. It's an old school game. But what I found is you could do a search for bank. So in the organization
Yeah,
title, you could search just bank, and you could search things like um, oil. You could search for keywords that you know certain industries would use in their title name.
yeah. So I mean, you can do that, but you can search any
Direct
organization up
as
as
well.
well, and sort of go direct into Santander, and again we're showing it in the same way as a law firm, but the interesting bit here is the sort of solicitors and seniority, and seeing the most senior people going downwards
Yeah.
in Santander.
And that's
If we
pretty big again. So, other way around would be LinkedIn. However, LinkedIn doesn't give you PQE as well as the title, so it's a bit hard to assess, is this the most senior person in the room to contact?
Yeah, look, as a recruiter, I use LinkedIn Recruiter. It's a must have. It was the easiest sell for LinkedIn. It was 2 minutes for me, and I signed away a 2 year contract worth 10,000. And at the time when I was doing it, I was thinking, God, I wish I've got to get Legal Target from a nice to have to a must have, because that was the easiest sell for LinkedIn. But actually, LinkedIn's really good for me when I'm doing sort of overall work in the FAS and various sectors. But in the legal space, um, it doesn't drill down enough in specialisms and PQEs, and I would say any legal recruiter should have a platform like Legal Target plus LinkedIn Recruiter,
Yeah.
which is how I use it. So I use Legal Target for early research and map, and I use LinkedIn for profiling and outreach.
For me, I use Apollo instead of LinkedIn because Apollo is the sales data that salespeople would want, aka just the I'll grab the ice block from Legal Target, put it
Mm.
in Apollo. Apollo gives me a few more data and puts it in a sequence. Most importantly, it puts them in email campaigns ready to be sent out. So you're ready to go with the kind of the Excel sheets we download. Now, you keep mentioning, and this is a key conversation between us that I love. How do you become a must-have as opposed to a nice to have? Give me
Well,
some
I sort of welcome
strategy you
feedback
have.
from our audience. Really, what I want to do, and spending more time on Legal Target. Um, I'm assuming what the must-haves are. Um, I know from my perspective, being a headhunter and recruiter and advisor to the legal sector, there are points of data that I think will be really useful. Um, and I think there's the legal market's such a data rich sector. I think Chambers and Partners and Legal 500, the data there is a bit of a must have. So I'd like to spend time trying to assess the data within the directories and trying to enhance data and show it via Legal Target, but then do some assessments on that data um, where I can. I actually think so many of the on the M&A side, law firms are looking at smaller bolt-ons and bolt-ons that are sort of up to 10 million, so that 5 to 15 million, and anything sort of 10 million below. There's not huge amounts of data firms, but um, the one piece of data to a public company law firm, one that everyone would know, and I was chatting to their M&A guy, and he just said, look, the one bit of data they go for is going to every set of accounts, LL of the limited liability partnerships, and the one number they will have is the highest earning member. Um, so I'd like to capture that data and have every single sort of partner member of a LLP. I think that would be really useful for recruiting and headhunting. It gives you a bit of a guide to.
Now, how would you get that? Because does the account sheet say the name of the partner, or does it just say partner one?
It doesn't say which one, but
Yeah.
it will say in a set of accounts the highest paid member. if you're trying to acquire a boutique up to 10 million with a sort of 3 or 4 equity partners, I think getting the highest paid member is a good gauge to where your deal needs to be to please the highest paid member, really.
Got you.
So,
Now,
but that's just going in. I mean, like, that's me jumping into detail because I'm a bit like that. But I think overall, I want to assess more client data, and there's a lot of, if for example, I'd like to be able to go into AstraZeneca and see the law firms that have advised AstraZeneca
hmm,
in the different areas. I mean, that data is all out there, fragmented, but I'd like to capture it, and then you can start flipping that data into sort of that advise AstraZeneca. So you could land into Eversheds and see that within employment they advise AstraZeneca, and then actually if you're grabbing all of that data, you can then do assessment on the client data that they're working on. So it's all about data, isn't it? Really, I mean, the more we can do, I just don't want to sort of go down a rabbit hole where we're sort of feature creeping when there's no real demand for it. So
yeah.
I need to really understand what the market wants so we can get ready.
And I give you credit for that. I remember the V2 version of Legal Target was all about just listening to what the customer's wanting in terms of the UX, UI, being able to search in certain places. So you really just focused on what you have rather than adding things. And I always advise founders to don't add, make what you
Yeah,
have work before you
absolutely.
add more.
Feature creeping's the biggest. When I was acting for a client who lived in One Hyde Park, um, mega guy, and he had started from scratch building something quite big in technology, and um, I sort of started to advise him around the time when he was sort of quite advanced on it, and he had never scoped out the project, and the spend just got out of hand. I mean, luckily for me, getting out of hand wasn't self-funding this, but um, the one bit of advice he gave me was he said just scope it out and stick to it and be rigid. So my advice to anyone in building tech is scope it out, not feature creep. I mean, tech is always evolving. You've got to accept that, but the danger is that you just continually feature creep and try and improve, and you never actually get anything to the market.
Yeah.
So I was quite rigid on what we wanted to build, and also really not. I didn't want to sort of do data for the sake of data. I wanted to be really clean with Legal Target and just show data points that I think would be useful to our audience.
Yeah. And from one of my favorite parts was a lot of people wanting originally when you made the platform, they wanted cross search capabilities, like search for a culp in Clifford Chance, and then be
Yeah,
able to search for all the culps in top 200 firms and just export that. So I really think you did a great job bringing those feedback into the platform.
yeah.
Um, in terms of the kind of making this a no-brainer and making this a must-have, you've already done some stuff in terms of pricing, in terms of strategy. Would you like to talk about what you've done recently that has signed a lot of clients? And
Yeah. So, I mean, we had our typical users were, a law firm um, with up to sort of 5 seats, and we had someone from the board on the M&A. We had certainly the HR director and a couple of the recruiters. So, and then someone from marketing. So, typically was a sort of an up to 5 seat client, um, spending 6,000-7,000 a year. And it was a bit of a hard slog. And we had other clients. Yeah, we had our biggest test client was getting board, and getting them comfortable around the usage of data and privacy, etc. So we spent a lot of time with Reed onboarding them, which was good, and we satisfied their legal team, and they came on board. So we had a national recruiter, some good firms, but our data, we were behind one or two of our competitors. Our USP was the M&A tool. Our USP was the fact that it's such a visual overview of the entire market. So we're confident that we to any of our competitors, but ultimately recruiters want the best data. It's all about data and being able to grab that data. So um, I decided recently, as we're sort of building out the data points, taking it from a nice to have to must have. I wanted to just remove the free users from the platform. We've got a lot of free users on there that are using the very basic platform, um, and so we're taking that away for now, and we're going to make it in behind a paywall. And rather than into the several thousand with just a few limited seats per annum, I wanted to make it attractive to the smaller recruiters, sort of one man to sort of 5 people. Reflects a lot of the users within the legal and reg tech. Um, you know, I want a legal tech that's selling to the legal sector with a 1 or 2 sales team to think legal target's just a complete no-brainer. So we've made it £1,500 plus VAT per year for unlimited users within reason, because it will take time for sort of loads of users being put on there, but within reason, people can have as many seats as they want for £1,500 a year, and that's becoming it's we've got a 100% success rate at the moment on each of the clients we're engaging with, and it's just we're gonna do it for the next year or so, probably the next year while we enhance the data points.
Got you. Now, I like the fact that you've made it one price point. I tried to be annoying, and you had more price points which you didn't like. But I love it. I think it's really kind of innovative and kind of not, how would you say, the opposite of insecure, when people are being very possessive of their platforms and making it super difficult to onboard. I've always found that weird. Why would you create a tool that has mass market potentials but put barriers before people jumping on? You've made it unlimited users and credits. Talk to me about why you did that.
I did it because I don't. What I find is when I talk to some firms who had multiple seats, take Reed for example. They won't mind me saying this, but when you assess the users of their user licenses, or the people using those seats, probably 20 to 30% max were using it regularly, and then there were just 1 or 2 that were using it all the time and had it open on their screen. And I think that's, and in fact, the way we were sold into Reed was one of these had stumbled across Legal Target,
Yeah.
and took it to their management and said, look, we need to have this, we need to pay for this, and we got, but, and I think that's typical of every group. You'll have some that love tech and will use it loads, some law firms. So the more that use it for that price, that the ones that do use it and enjoy it will be a fan of legal and will sell it internally for us.
Yeah.
And actually, and then I think the bits when we start improving the data, certain data points, it will be quite fun seeing it just go, really.
I like the fact that, again, you're aware of where you are as a business. You did 2 years or 3 years of free trials, where people could just jump on, use the platform, give you feedback, so you could actually
Yeah,
evolve the
it's been a
platform.
very painful years, Arslan. To be fair, it's
Yeah,
self-funded, and
completely bootstrapped, right?
it's completely bootstrapped, and actually self-funding it when I'm doing quite a bit elsewhere, and working in the family office world when you're working with clients that have billions, and you're bootstrapping a tech startup on the side. You're like, our worlds are so different, but maybe they're not. But I jumped from one call talking to one of the wealthiest families of a country to then talking to my team to try and implement something and plead poverty.
Yeah, and I
Mm.
mean, that's the life of a founder, isn't it? Plead poverty, and
Absolutely,
that
but not
kind of
show
makes.
it. Yeah.
But that's the kind of the differentiator between really successful founders that I've seen and those who kind of aren't taking this as serious, is like they're really tight with money and budgeting and financing, and they understand the longevity game. And then there's
Mm.
others who they race for fundraising and VCs getting involved, and using somebody else's money on these kind of short-term projects that don't have a return on it anytime soon. And I
Yeah,
always worry about, because RegTech has a lot of that, Richard, as you know.
yeah. Look, it's tough when you do it on your own. I think the danger is when you do it on your own for too long, and it's still so early stage and yet quite advanced. I think, looking back with hindsight, I should have probably just got a partner in, an investor in right at the very
Yeah,
beginning, because I think we could have just accelerated all the bits that we wanted to do. But that's all right. I'm as much. I love what I do, but I take it very seriously as well, um, and I'm looking forward to seeing how the next 12 months evolve with Legal Target. Really.
great. Couple of questions from the chat. Chat, please
Mm,
ask us more questions, of course. We have Richard here for a few minutes more. We got 5 minutes, Richard, till 1 p.m. But
cool.
then if you're down, we could stay a few more minutes and talk about
Yeah.
a
Yeah.
couple of more things. Annie Amar here asks us, I don't know if you can see, how does this indicate a
Yeah.
company's activity in the market? She asked us that 15 minutes into the conversation. So I don't know if you remember what you were talking about 15 minutes into
How
this.
does this indicate a company's activity in the market?
Could be the
Um,
financials.
um, a company's activity in the market. Look, I think a company's activity, maybe there's, you can go into the financials and see the growth trajectory, and we've grabbed as much data as we could, going back in some cases 20 years. Um, it's all about growth for law firms at the moment. I was talking to some managing partners recently, and whether I think, yeah, I won't go off on one
Cool.
on
Annie, if you could elaborate
parameter.
on that, we'd
Yeah,
love an elaboration.
yeah, absolutely. If I'll be happy to answer.
Just give us an elaboration on that, Annie. And
Yeah,
then
yeah.
Graham Wood from X Codex Edge X Hive Risk asks us, does it map and track lawyer movements?
Oh, good old Graham.
Graham,
Just coming on, stirred up. Does it map and track lawyer
great
moves?
question.
Um, it we've What we've been doing when we sort of take the market data from the law society is that um, it does show actually if someone's moved within the last 3 months. So if you go into a profile of someone that has moved within the last 3 months, it will indicate that they've moved within the last 3 months and from which firm they've moved to. So that was something that I was a piece in there that we had, and we thought actually from a recruiter's perspective that's quite useful.
Yeah.
Um, what we have been doing as well is keeping hold of the data of old, so that we can start doing some interesting bits around it to see how the you the market's moved over
So you
recent
have
years.
like historical data because you do refreshers, right? Talk to me about the refreshers you
Yeah,
do.
so yeah, we take the data once a month, and in fact, AI has made it tricky for probably Graham's business, for my business, for Piracle. Um, the restrictions that these platforms are now putting in to protect themselves against sort of AI harvesting data has made it quite challenging. Um, but we've now taken in a sort of a direct source with Blessing, but it's not rich in data. So we take the data monthly, and we also take data direct from the law firm. So we take the data initially from the regulator, and then we take data from the law firms, and then we enhance, and we do that monthly.
Amazing. So those are the three questions. Two questions, sorry. Annie, if you wanted to elaborate, you have a minute or two left. Richard, I guess great chat. We covered your kind of founder story, your origin story. And
And I hate doing things like
yeah,
this,
you hated
Arslan.
this.
So I'm camera shy.
Yeah.
I'm in the background.
No, you did
I
amazing.
don't do
You
these
did
things.
amazing. We
Yeah,
did
yeah.
great. Last session unfortunately crashed. So apologies to everybody who was watching us with iDenfy and it just disappeared. LinkedIn had an issue last week, so please don't blame
Mm.
me. Blame the game. Now, any last words? Any parting words, Richard, for RecTax, legal tax recruiters?
Look, I I think legal target should be something that's just open on in the background. You know, if you've got a young sales team
Yeah,
that falls in love with your product and wants to get to know the legal sector and a visual overview of that legal sector, I think Legal Target will answer that. And I think, and I've tried to make it at a price point where it is a no-brainer. Um, and 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 I welcome feedback of what you want data point wise. You let me know what you want, and we'll go and find it and host it.
Amazing. And if you're working legal tech, if you're rec tech, if you sell to law firms, if you're mapping law firms out from a recruitment or business development perspective, if you're a law firm looking to buy and analyze a market or another law firm, Legal Target is there, 1,500 plus VAT, unlimited credits, users. It's an absolute no-brainer. Top 100 law firms are using, dozens of top 100 law firms are using this, dozens of national law firms, recruitment agencies, as well as I used it. Like in First AML, in all the jobs I've had, still to this day, I use Legal Target to map out law firms. Before I meet any firm, I go on Legal Target, check out their core makeup, understand who their intake is. Are they a private client kind of a law firm? Are they B2B law firm? Very important to know the difference between the two, because when you speak to their partner, MLRO, you want to be quite educated about their intake. You know, you could be speculative. You could say, oh, I guess you do 60% private client, 40% business. And that starts the conversation off as well. So obviously, Richard, you might want to comment on that. Sorry.
Yeah, no, look, I don't want to sort of talk it down, but you have to take the data for what it is. Yeah, I had a really wonderful lady that ran a niche IP telecoms law firm, and she came on and said, "Look, actually, we're a completely non-contentious law firm, and yet Legal Target showing us as sort of 50% contentious, and I need to sort of justify to my insurers that we're not a contentious firm." And but when I spent time with her, sort of talking through the data and our assessment, she came on board as a client. She loved it,
Yeah, I remember.
but she needed sort of calming down. So, but overall, when you're looking at big data, then it does, it can be pretty accurate. But that's what I want to improve. I think it's all about we're as to position, and it's my mission to really make the data as accurate and useful as possible.
Awesome.
Yeah,
Great. Thank you so
and
much.
it might be a complete waste of time with what's going on in the AI space. So let's.
Who knows? What I do know is a lot of firms are interested in the legal market, selling to law firms. You know that as well, Richard. A
Yeah,
lot of
absolutely.
companies want to sell to law firms
Yeah,
here.
completely.
So the question is how and who too, right? And I think Legal Target provides an affordable price point to map out the market and get your business development started. So with that said, thank you so much. We'll obviously have the recording of this call up soon on YouTube, on LinkedIn. Please follow Richard on LinkedIn. Press connection request on him. And yeah, get in touch on various. Richard, what should people get in touch? Because you do more than just tech, right? So family office stuff.
Yeah, but I think get in touch, and if anyone wants a one-to-one through of Legal Target, we're investing time into this. Get in touch for any sort of one-to-one discussions on that. Law firms that are looking for partners, positions, M&A. I do a lot of succession planning within the legal space, and the family office side. I help law firms and clients build family offices, which is a big part of my practice.
Thank you. I'll leave Richard's kind of profile in the comment section. Richard, it was a pleasure doing this with
Yeah,
you.
likewise.
We probably should talk about legal market. We should do like a trends analysis. Maybe you host it from Legal Target side.
Yeah, look, I'd be very happy to have something around legal headhunting and how to engage on the executive search side with the legal market using Legal Target and
Cool.
processes.
Maybe we do that. Plus,
Yeah.
maybe you can share some more insights on the market from your M&A days and all of that.
Yeah.
So, guys, thank you so much for watching. Richard, thank you for attending. We'll see you next time.
Thank you.
Thank you, guys. Have a great day.